Ever since when I started writing my book regarding the holistic approach of self-love, which contemplates spirituality, self-development, financial literacy, and love to Mother Earth, I am also busy thinking about the generational poverty in our family. Indeed, it is really very hard to identify or to define poverty because it has multidimensional and multifaceted elements such as era, region, geographical conditions, and many more. On the basis of social, economic, and political aspects, there are many different types to identify poverty, like relative, absolute, situational, generational, urban, and rural poverty. I am focusing on analyzing the generational poverty in our family. We have at least two generations that has been born and trapped in poverty, like my grandparents' generation, my parents' generation, and my generation. Based on my experience, poverty means lacking of certain commodities that human being needs, like money and other material things. Or we could hardly eat before. And we have houses, but the sanitary condition was really poor. My parents could not really afford to meet the simple needs, the basic simple needs like food, shelter, and house. And I just want to stress that I come from very professional and very educated family, but yet generation from generation, my family is trapped in poverty. I would like to discuss this topic with my cousin Tata, Tatoy, who is really a very successful businesswoman in Texas, USA. Although poverty is a very complex topic, there are lots of questions arises on this topic. But in spite of its complexity, can we end up poverty in our family? Is our system, social, political, economic system designed to give justice to all human beings in our society? How could we end up poverty in our family? How could we leverage our life? And what are the rest or threats of the next generation? Yet, allow me to really welcome my cousin Tata for a long discussion, which we have part 1 and part 2. Thank you guys, and see you. I thank you, Tata, for having you here to my today's episode, because we will be talking about the generational poverty in our family. You are an empowered woman and a very successful businesswoman in Texas, USA. So you really have the mandate to say something about the poverty that our family is facing from generation to generation. And through your work and through your community engagement, you have met a lot of people from all over, from all walks of life. Mm-hmm. Although we are not scientists and we are not experts, when it comes to social, economical, and political elements of poverty, but we are experts in our fields as we grow up, experiencing and observing poverty in our family. So, what do you think are the causes of poverty in our family, in this perspective from our parents' generation?
In my own observation and connecting the dots of circumstances that happens to our parents' generation, I have realized several factors that put us into the hands of poverty. One is the average income. Second, we have so many children. Third is our bayanihan spirit. Fourth is there is no government medical assistance. The average income is, Melvin, we came from parents who are educated and professionals. My father and my mother were both teachers. and the combined household income is below average. It can only provide the basic needs, which is the shelter, food, clothing, education for two children. And let's go now to the second factor that I mentioned to you, which is too many children. I came from a big family. You know, in the Philippines, if you come from five family, it's a small family. We start from seven and above. So being in a big family, we are 12, and we also have couple of relatives that stayed with us at that time. And my parents also paid a babysitter to take care of my baby siblings. We were like 16 mouths to feed every meal, 3 times a day. That is a big financial burden to my parents.
Yes.
We able to eat, we able to go to school, but my parents live payday to payday. We owed a lot from our family, friends, and the community. We owed all over. So many times that we had to borrow rice for the next meal, or we are ashamed to borrow because we have not even paid back. And that was the life that we live. And when I was 12 years old, I am the sixth in the family, but my mom passed away. I was 12. So the oldest in the family, Almeida, assumed the responsibility of a mother. Now, it was worst life because we lost one income. We were living, in a financial struggle every day. When I came to America, I know that the American government has financial aid for food, medical, and education to poor people. And what I really surprised me, why Americans are scared of many kids. They only want 2, 3 the most. And I asked them, what's wrong? Why? They said, who's going to take care of them? And how can I support them? How can I give them what they need? Now, I would say that the Filipinos must have 2 children because for both teachers, combined income can only provide for 2 children. Then we should only have 2 children. The Bayanihan spirit that we have is a good values that we acquire. It's a cultural inheritance that we pass through generation and generation. That is a solidarity spirit, right?
Yes.
That we help our family, relatives, neighbors, and the society with the needs of food, shelter, education, and medical expense. And you and me, Melvin, we are a product of that Bayanihan spirit. Because it's not only our parents sent us to school. We have an assistance from our
community.
siblings, uncles, and aunties, and the people we borrowed money from. The only thing is, I bring that Bayanihan spirit to Texas, being a product of it. I was also helping a lot of people in Texas that needed financial help, as well as in the Philippines. However, people change. The culture changed a lot. We were 35 years ago when we went to school back home.
Yes.
But I realized, several years ago, that my financial assistance did not even help. So I said, what am I doing? And when I realized that, and it happened so many times, that experience told me we should create a boundaries. There should be a limit. Because I realized that we are not helping, we are creating people or an attitude of burden to others. So the Bayanihan spirit is a good thing, but it creates, now it's being misused and abused because we create people that burden to others. The last factor I would like to mention also is in the Philippines has no government medical assistance. If one member in the family is severely ill, automatically be the community burden. So it means the immediate family that if someone is going to school, he must stop the education for now because the education budget is medical expense. It can be the medication. You have to break the budget of food. We may be borrowing food or rice from the neighbors or friends because our money at that time is to buy medication to save life. And then in 3 days, when we're out of funds, then it's time to go to tell our relatives, our friends, neighbors, and announce our problem. And we expect them to gather money to help us for the fourth, third, until our LP person is already recovered. What does it result to? We bother so many households for one person who got sick because there is no other assistance. There's no government assistance. It will result to family financial bankruptcy. Can you imagine I'm only talking to one household that has a sick person? Then what about 2 weeks later? There's another one. Everybody help. We can't finish. That's what I mean of family financial bankruptcy. And we live in that life. We are used to it. We're this cycle, and we are numb to that kind of life. We are happy as long as we're healthy. We are happy if we can eat and we can send our children to school. That's it. That is the highest dream that we have in the Philippines, which is an average dream. We will not think about what if someone gets sick, what if. It's all about food and education. We are trapped into that mindset. And to me, it's not good to us. So how to get out from this? We should think beyond above average. We think that being rich is a miracle. No, you can be rich if you will start thinking rich right now. If you start thinking poor right now, for sure you will be poor. So we should build courage. We need to build our financial stability. And we need to be dreamers. We need to be ambitious. And if we can only have one ambition, a very simple ambition, an ambition that, what about if I will declare myself that I will no longer a burden to the next person. That is a very simple ambition but strong one. Because when our mind is already set not to be a burden, the next step is we will really build our financial stability. So every time our action going towards independence, not to be dependent. And when you are independent is when you can create financial stability.
Well, this is really very strong statement from you that we should not be a burden to others. That also what my takeaway right now is that Bayanan spirit is our inheritance, cultural inheritance, but this also doesn't really help us to be freed from poverty. Because the main essence of Bayanihan that we have to help others, but we don't expect in returns. In the generations, this is really misused and abused, okay?
Yeah.
It's just because we have not talked for about 35 years.
Yes.
And our values really changed. Because we see you are in America, I am in Europe. Through our experience, you are a really very successful businesswoman, and I also work in this financial arena, and also meet people, politicians and managers, successful managers. Our thinking and our values and our mindset. I am not skeptical, but I just want to stress what I'm hearing from you.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
To avoid not to be burdened to others, it's really, really very provocant statement. And it may lead to misunderstandings and misconceptions to our families because it may contradict to the values that our parents, my parents, your parents, imparted to us. Mm-hmm. We have to live in solidarity. Mm-hmm. We have to practice Bayanihan spirit. Mm-hmm. We must be compassionate. We must share what we have. We must share love. We must also be kind to all people. And we must, above all, tirelessly help others.
Yeah.
It doesn't really astonish me because I see the values in Europe. Mm-hmm. I see how the government works. Mm-hmm. But you are now pointing out the wounds of the Philippine government who has failed, to help or has program to help the middle and the lower class in our society in terms of medication. And we are talking here, and you are talking here, severe ill people, like when they have cancer. We are not talking here when they have fever, when they have, cough, illness that really cost a lot of money. So what can you say? What would our members of the families think about it? Or maybe our government? When you think, we talk about we should not be a burden or avoid burden to others.
Well, from the very core of my human being, I am a proud Filipina with the values that my parents imparted in me. I studied in the Philippines and got married, moved to Texas, USA. I see the American government help the poor with their food, education, as well as medical, which we do not have in the Philippines. So it is very hard. It is a very challenge for us, the Filipinos, to leverage our lives. Why? There are the bayanihan. There is a financial destruction from others. So see, once you're trying to build your financial stability, you cannot really be so distracted. I know that we will not succeed without others. What makes me successful are the community. Is giving me my revenues. My statement that we should not be a burden to others, it is not mean to contradict our family values. Melvin, at this time, we just survived the global crisis. We are facing now the gas
The second
hike.
wave.
Yeah.
Second wave.
And also the result of Ukraine war.
Yes.
The gas is going high. So these are the values really that is missing in our family.
Not to be a burden.
Not to be a burden. Because we are educated, we can do it. We need to think not to be a burden. If we can add that to our values, we can fight poverty. You see, Melvin, it takes years to build a successful business. It is a lot of challenges, especially if you were not born and raised in Texas.
Yes.
And it takes years for your business to be profitable. What happened to me, I was blessed that those times, actually my husband passed away in 2007.
Yes.
And I was so busy. I was panicking, and I really think and prayed and come up with a plan. I incorporate my business knowledge and my nursing knowledge and come up with a lucrative business in medical industry in Texas. So I was focusing in it. I had no communication from anybody, including Philippines. I went home in 5 years later, 2012, and when I got home, I never know that my two sisters lost their home from a typhoon, and then also at that time they know I became an entrepreneur in Texas. They thought I was still working at the hospital. So those time was a blessing to me. I wasn't that distracted.
Yes.
I had a good focus. And then from that, I was able to help.
It is really good to hear from your side because we took different pathways, different approach in helping our family back home. So when I arrived here, I also studied, but I started working. I started actually as an expert. My income was not below average. I was also thinking myself was really very average. I only dreamed very small. I only wanted to have a house in Germany with very comfortable toilet because I always have until now a trauma to our sanitation condition in the Philippines.
Yeah.
The toilet was really very poor.
Yeah.
In poor condition. But the difference is that because I finance always mainly the medication of my parents, and it was really a burden, but I was not really, really affected in it because my salary was just very high. The downside, the other side of the coin is that I did not think big. I only think that, okay, I think average. I just wanted my house with a proper toilet, comfortable toilet. But one thing that I was thinking, I will not allow myself to be a burden to my son. the medication was really very high.
Yeah.
And I know that not all of the overseas Filipino workers have, very high income. So this is only what differs. I think average, my dream was really very small. So when I analyze your approach now, this is really very good because you think to be entrepreneur.
Yeah.
You dream to be entrepreneur because your husband was not passed away.
Yeah.
You were forced to think differently.
Yeah.
You were not distracted during the startup phase of your company. So you were not distracted maybe 5 years.
Yes.
And it took 5 years that your business flourished, to be flourished and to be profitable, and the money is coming.
Yeah.
So if we now see the different world we have, I would say, and I really recommend to all overseas Filipino workers
Yes.
to think beyond average, if possible, to build their own companies, to have investment,
Financial stability.
financial stability. Do not follow the way. I really didn't want to invest before. Okay, although we have different paths, but God is good.
Yeah.
I don't have any business, but God is really good to me. Life is good.
Yeah. It's good.
Life is good. But
Yes.
there's your approach or your statement is doesn't really contradict to our values, family values. It is only the missing piece
Peace.
that we should not be a burden to others.
Yes.